Well, hello there, this is Shane from Shane's Reviews. I hope that you are having a great day today. And this will be the third video about the Damned trilogy. A Call to Arms was the first one. The second one, where did it go? I lost it. The False Mirror was the second one. And The Spoils of War was the third one, which is the one we'll be talking about today. Now, this was recommended by Jacob Crawford, and Jacob, thank you so much. I know I've said that in every video, but 3 videos because of your recommendation. Well done, sir. The narration in this, I think, was done by Michael Naramore. I believe that's correct. And then, as far as like the production quality throughout the entirety of the series, it was really good. I didn't really have any of those like glitchy things or whatevers. There wasn't anything that was out of the ordinary either. Everything added up to that being a well done, well toned audio experience. So where are we at? We've got humans, we've got aliens, we've got good guys, we've got bad guys. The bad guys can control minds, and that's why they've been dubbed bad. And then the good guys can't control minds, but they're all kind of grouping together to keep the suggestion aliens from taking over society. Now, it's not really been said why those two sides are fighting, with the exception of that, until I believe it is this book. And in this book, I think towards the end, that reason is resolved. It's actually said. And I, of all things, for it to be that, really, that was a disappointment for me. It might not be for other people, but for me, but does it change that it was a good read? Absolutely not. It was actually, this one was just as good as the second one, which I think was a little bit better than the first, but the first had a lot of like the stuff that I really love, like the introduction of characters, the introduction of philosophy or behaviors, or introduction to different planets, or this or this or this, and setting things up. I really love that inside of literature. Even though I personally didn't like that tidbit of information, does not distract or detract from the main point of these creatures are really bad. And so let's find out why. Now, in the first book we had, of course, the artist. In the second book we had more of a soldier type that was working on freeing his colonies that he was a part of. But we also get to, in the third book, follow somebody that's in the same sect, from the same group, from these other planets besides Earth, and what has happened, what's come along, and the things that have changed. Being that now they actually do have an infrastructure and all this kind of a thing, it's kind of interesting to see that they're in a military structure, but they have a secret society inside of that structure for them alone, because they're able to do something that no other human can do, and that is simply reach out with their mind and put a thought into said mind. Doesn't matter if it's anybody or anything. I think there's one caveat in that they can't do it to other humans. And that kind of follows the same premises of the amplitude can't do it to any other amplitude. With that being said, was this a good read? Is it worth your time? Make sure that you don't start with the last book. If you're going to read these, make sure you read these in order, because this isn't one of those situations where you can have the payouts without knowing everything else. Now, the stories would work by themselves, but as far as like the whole picture, you wouldn't have that. And then if you go back and you read the first one, you'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, fair. I think that's the way that would work. So fair heads up. And granted, I understand that's the way most things work, but we've talked about some pretty weird books in the past. And since we have talked about some weird books in the past that they could be done in any which way, why not? Let's just go ahead and make that an identified thing that needs for clarification. This book is a wrap-up. I hope there's more. I'm going to find out this weekend. I really liked it because we're on the next generation of people, and then on top of it, there's particular aliens that live for X amount years more than what we ever would. And so there's like this history that's already forming, this lore that's already forming within this book series. And the question, the dilemma is still, we, as the Weave, have contacted these humans, and then we have set them loose on these bad guys on the wrong side of the bad line, and they've done a tremendous job, but we have facilitated them being warriors, and we can't necessarily bring them in for them being part of our civilizations. We can't bring them into the fold, as it were, because they're just too violent, but we feel like it's our fault. Now, they don't really have any plans to stop that. They don't have any plans to combat it, and in fact, they kind of want humans to just kind of stick where they are, and if they ever need them, go back to them. By the time you get to this book, you'll already know that. That's not a spoiler. But this is the big premises throughout this book. Remember that creature I was mentioning in the last video, Lily Ann Lang, whatever it was. I mean, it was a mouthful for sure. Well, that creature has made friends with one of the people that are not from Earth that are able to control and insert those thoughts into minds. And they have a very unique relationship because she accidentally, in the second book, ferreted out that he was able to do this sort of a thing whenever he took care of a particularly bad situation. Because, as I mentioned, there's multiple alien sects, right? Well, there's one that is particularly a loner, doesn't like to deal with people, and doesn't want a bunch of people around, and in fact would be very happy, in their own words, just floating in the vast emptiness of space with nothing else around them. Solitude and emptiness and quiet is their best companion. It sounds like my own personal hell, but it's an alien, so why not, right? But apparently groups of those had been setting both sides against each other, so there would be more casualties and more death, because with more casualties and more death, there's more worlds that will open up. So let's see how many we can destroy so that there will be more quiet. That was their thought process, but it wasn't the entire species. It was just a group of them working in concert to try to eliminate as much from both sides as they could. Now, whenever we get to the point where it's pretty much done and the story's over, I found myself wanting more. I found myself wanting so much more. I'm not going to tell you how the war went. I'm not going to tell you who won, what side was victorious or anything like that. I'm not even going to talk about the end of the book because it's so prolific to the entirety of the series. And the way that it wrapped out is, in my opinion, a perfect ending for this literature, for this series. And for myself, I don't think that if anybody else could have adapted it or changed it or submitted multiple endings, I don't think any other ending would have done it for me the way this one specifically did. If you guys wouldn't mind, please bring down the clap award. That's right, we're going to give this author the clap. Every time I try to do that, it just comes out sounding so bad. The long of it is the author Foster, he did so good on the end and wrapping up on that series. And so the next time that I find something that's from them, I'm going to be so likely to pick it up. Now, I know that I've said a whole lot of nothing but giving you a bunch of general ideas about it, and that's because the third book I'm kind of protecting. I'm not going to try to give any spoilers there. Now, before the fighter jets outside that are having fun, buzzing around the area that I live in, shatter their window or whatnot, I'm going to get out of here because I'm curious and I can't help it. The ADD's going to win, so I'm going up on the rooftop of our building and I'm going to watch whatever they're doing just because I can. And I want to, and I think it'll be fun. So, peace. I'm not sure which one of these two videos over here that are coming in that you would pick, but if you happen to pick the one that I'm in, I will see you in the next video. If you're still watching, thank you so much for doing that. If you wouldn't mind, hit that thumbs up and maybe just consider subscribing if you haven't. It's free, and if you ever decide you don't like my hair, you can always unsubscribe without much pain.